Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 23 of the Chosen One Star Wars podcast here on Game Domain. As always, I'm your host, Jason, joined by my co host, Captain.
What up?
All right, so today we just have another, news-filled episode for you guys. We're just going to be talking about, two of the latest big developments in the world of Star Wars news over the past week. The Star Wars news and Star Wars content has been pretty light as of late. We're getting some of the first High Republic content through books and comics rolled out here shortly, I believe, over this month and August. We're going to be getting some of that content released to kind of, Disney's kind of making their way into that whole new area, the canon. Who knows if that'll be setting up the trilogy that we're getting now starting in 2023, which we'll get into in the latter half of the episode. But the first thing we're going to touch on is a rumor that's been kind of swirling around the internet. Could very well be true because of multiple implications about this series that we could see, and that's the idea of this of a Lando Disney Plus series. The name that's being tossed around is the Calrissian Chronicles, which is actually after a I think some Legends book that is obviously no longer canon. And so the big deal surrounding this series is that could make a lot of the stuff from old Legends canon again, and it would also tie into the Solo, a Star Wars story movie that we got just a few years back in 2018. So I personally like the idea because I wanted to see more content with Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo and Chewbacca, and kind of wrapping up that that story that we kind of left on a cliffhanger in Solo, a Star Wars story, which almost felt like it set up for a sequel movie. I think right off the bat that I think this Lando series could probably be that kind of sequel. So we could see maybe Lando and Han teaming up on some more adventures, and trying to track down Kira, and maybe Darth Maul makes another live action appearance. We don't really know. We don't really know anything about the series, but it is presumed that it's taking place in between episodes 3 and 4, so kind of right around when the Solo movie came out. In between, I guess, either right before Solo in the timeline, or it could be right after, in between Solo and Rogue One. Which would, just be more Star Wars content in between episodes 3 and 4. There's only 19 years in between those two movies, but somehow they managed to stick in a whole bunch of a couple, anthology movies and a couple Disney Plus series are, going to be thrown right into that timeline. Why don't we just start off with Captain? You want to just give some of your thoughts on kind of this Lando series? I know it's kind of an oddball thing because we didn't really hear about it until yesterday. I believe the rumor started credibly circulating. I don't know, Captain, if you just want to talk about some of the implications you could see here, and how you think the series could turn out.
Well, first things first, I'm going to give a backhand to Den of Geek. Den of Geek, please do not ever, ever, ever say that Donald Glover is a pitch perfect casting as the coolest con man in the galaxy. He's not a con man. He's a scoundrel. Get it right.
Yes.
Come on, you called Den of Geek for crying out loud. But as results to the TV show, I just had a thought that would actually make it pretty good. So, you wanted Eric Eichenbach or whatever he's called, that
Alden Ehrenreich, yeah.
Alden
Alden
Ehrenreich. Yeah,
Ehrenreich.
I can never pronounce his name because it's weird. But it would be better if in the Lando series it was actually Han Solo and Lando doing things together with Chewie,
Yeah.
and it gives Alden the ability to be Han Solo some more because I
Mhm.
like him as Han Solo,
Yeah.
and it gives the ability for Donald Glover to drop the Lando
Lando
impersonation
impression, yeah.
and do Lando proper. Okay, and
Yeah.
stop with this pansexual shit that they brought in. Lando is just a smooth talking, jive walking, awesome man who just walks around the galaxy and flirts with everything. He is what I've inspired my entire life on. But the TV show would be interesting if they don't just focus on
Lando.
Lando.
Yeah.
Now, reading this Den of Geeks thing, I don't know. This is from like 2 days ago, and it looks like it will be focusing on some of the Legends aspects of Lando,
Yeah,
because
which
I'm
I
also
think would be
hearing,
interesting because
oh hell yeah,
I definitely want them to bring some of that Legends stuff, a lot of those old Legends books and comics that they kind of just tossed out. That would be pretty cool to kind of bring that back into the mix and make it canon again.
Yeah, I mean, it would be like Lando's actually had some pretty interesting side
Yeah,
stories
backstories.
in Legends.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I've read one, and I read that online. I can't remember the name of that. It was like 3 years ago, or some shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was fun. It was Lando being Lando. Obviously, it was Empire Strikes Back Lando, not Donald Glover impersonation Lando.
Yeah.
But it it can work as a TV show. Okay, it has everything it needs. It's got a suave, sophisticated lead. If that stupid robot lives matter droid is in it, then fucking
Well,
kill
if
me
it takes
now.
place after Solo, then hopefully she won't be in it.
If it takes
L3,
place
but
after Solo, that'll be good. But I
yeah.
think it'll take place before, when Lando is the captain of the Falcon,
Mm-hmm.
which means that a really annoying SJW droid is going to be there. God, that
Yeah.
droid ruined that movie. But if we have Lando doing like jobs, doing what he was, because he was a smuggler for a bit. If we got Lando doing jobs, that'd be pretty interesting. It'd be, smooth talking Lando. Sadly, it'll be Donald Glover doing Lando, so it won't be as good. But it was smooth talking Lando, trying to do a job. Job goes wrong somehow. Lando gets captured. Lando smooth talks his way out of it. Lando shoots his way out of it. Lando gets back and starts another job. The job might go completely wrong, but as long as Lando gets away, that's all Lando cares about, because Lando loves himself, and that's why I love Lando. But the TV show, it probably won't be that good. It has
Yeah.
potential, but it probably won't be good. And I think it's because Disney are just seeing that people are reacting to, like, Donald Glover. Hey, people are like, oh my god, he's a good Lando.
Yeah, a
He's
lot
an
of
okay
people love
Lando.
him.
He's not a good Lando. Lando. I mean, Billy D's the perfect Lando because he
Yeah,
is
that
Lando.
is for sure.
But it's like Disney are trying to just grab random things and make TV shows or movies out of them. And I think it's because they're in full on give me money mode. So unless we get some actual good directors for it, and like people working on it, it'll be shit.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I kind of agree with you that it has a lot of potential. I think there's definitely one of two ways they could go with this. I think they could go with it being a complete series about Lando, and that would, I think, have to take place before Solo. Or it could be a series with Lando as the lead, the main guy, and Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo, and Chewie kind of in there as side characters. Or, I mean, we haven't gotten any confirmation as this. This, people could just be saying it's a Lando series, but it could very well be a series just about the adventures of Lando and Han Solo, which I think that I would
Would
welcome
be
that
good.
idea. I definitely think that in order to make this a very good series rather than an okay series that I'm obviously going to watch every episode of but may not like as much, would I
Yeah,
think having Alden Ehrenreich and as Han Solo and then obviously Chewie in there, I think that would just make it that much better. Because I definitely like the dynamic of Han and Chewie in Solo a lot more than I like the dynamic of
yeah.
Lando and L3. So
Which it would be better if it was a Han Solo TV show
yes,
where
yes, with
Donald Glover
Lando in it.
reprised his role as
Yes,
Lando.
yes,
Because if we set it after the Solo movie, Han
yes,
Solo's now the captain, so he can be like, do you know what? Let's hire Lando for a job,
yes.
and that's how we can bring him into it.
I would definitely like that because obviously, I mean, I don't know what the legends aspects of this part of the timeline is, but obviously in canon we don't really have anything that confirms as to Han and Lando's relationship after Solo. Obviously we know they kind of split, but when Han gets the Falcon, but we don't have any idea. Did they not see each other until Empire Strikes Back? I don't really doubt it because they talk as if
They
they have
become
this
friends.
long, yeah, they talk as if they have this long history together, did a lot of work together, and they're very very close friends. And I don't see that bond and relationship from just what we got in the Solo
Yeah,
movie from when they met. So I think that there's definitely room for them after Solo and before Empire Strikes Back. Well, I mean, I guess even before A New Hope, because from Empire Strikes Back, it seems like they haven't seen each other in a significant, not a super long amount of time, but a significant amount of time that they haven't really seen each other. Describes him as an old friend, so it's not like they saw each other, within the last few years before Empire Strikes Back. So I think that there's definitely a lot of wiggle room and a lot of timeline as to them to having to build a relationship and build a bond with each other to become these really good friends that they describe themselves as when we get to Lando's first appearance in The Empire Strikes Back. So I think I agree with you that the potential is 100% there. I'm also not that much of a fan of Donald Glover as Lando. Like I think he does a Lando impression rather than just kind of being his own
Yeah,
Lando,
being
just
a
kind of
younger
being,
Lando.
yeah, being his own character, like, which I think Alden Ehrenreich did a great job at that. He was not trying to do a Harrison Ford impression. He talked his normal voice, but he made himself seem like Han Solo, and that's obviously, just being a good actor and having acting coaches literally trying to teach you how to play as Han Solo. And I think that Alden did a very good job at that. And I think that Donald Glover could come back and be an amazing Lando in this series if he doesn't do, like you were describing, as a Lando impression. I mean, you can't impersonate Lando Calrissian. Nobody can be
No,
Billy D. Williams but
yeah,
Billy D. Williams. You
Billy D's got one of those voices like
Yeah,
what's his face?
James Earl Jones even with
Yeah,
Darth
James Earl
Vader. You
Jones
can't.
or what's he? He needs more cowbell. Christopher Walken. Christopher
Oh
Walken's got one
yeah,
of those voices.
yeah.
That
You
it's
you.
just like,
It's
yeah,
completely iconic where you just can't. And Billy D. Williams is one of the coolest people on the planet. You can't
yeah.
impersonate. You just can't
No, I
impersonate him
don't
and,
know
and his talking.
where his coolness comes from, but I
But
swear to God,
there's a whole bunch of it.
Billy D could walk into a room and everybody
And
gets 800% cool.
um I mean, so I don't, if Land I mean, I like the idea of the series, and I would definitely welcome the idea of it being Han and Lando together. Even if it's a Lando series with Han in there, and Han
Yeah,
is, has half the screen time of Lando, as long as he's in there and it's not just Lando, I think it'll be very good. And then, I definitely think the first thing that I want to know is that where this takes place. If it's before Solo, then we know obviously they haven't met, so it's going to be about Lando and L3. If it's after Solo, then obviously we know that it's going to be about the adventures of them together, which I would like a lot better. And like I think, you just said you would like that a lot better. So I do agree with you where I think this has a lot of potential. I think even if it's just a Lando series, Donald Glover just has to act. He has to just act like Donald Glover playing Lando Calrissian, not act like Lando Calrissian. I mean, not act like Billy D. Williams playing Lando Calrissian, because he's just not going to be able to pull that off. So I think they have to, maybe a lot of people seem to love how he played Lando. I don't know. I was never really a big fan of it
bro.
from the beginning.
I'm
Um,
just I'm just reading this, and apparently Billy D actually gives some directions to Donald Glover
yeah,
about how to play Lando,
yeah.
and apparently his input was just be charming, which is straight up Billy D right
Yeah,
there.
that is, yeah. You can't even make that stuff up. I mean, I think Harrison Ford did the same thing with Alden Ehrenreich, and I can
Hmm,
imagine what Harrison Ford told them. He probably went out to eat lunch with him. He's like, listen, kid, I really don't give a shit about his character.
I'm just gonna smoke
Just
some weed and
yeah, I really don't care about this character. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would definitely like the idea more of it being, the both of them, rather than it just being about a Lando series. And I mean, I'm sure there are some Legends adventures that take place after Solo would in the timeline, where they could weave those in with Lando and Han, because I'm sure there's a bunch of Legend stuff about Lando and Han working together, and it would obviously take place, in that timeline. So, yeah, I mean, I think that could definitely, I think that could definitely be a very good dynamic and a very good series if they do that. Who knows? I mean, the way that Disney runs things, I'm sure Kathleen Kennedy wants as much of L3 talking about Robot Lives Matter as she possibly wants.
probably.
So who really knows what they'll do there? I mean, yeah. So that's really all with the Lando series. I mean, all we know is that it's a rumor right now. Nothing's been confirmed. But I mean, it's credible rumors reported by credible people like Den of Geeks and like MakingStarWars.net, who don't really just hop on random rumors that don't have any leverage. These are guys and these are websites and news media reporters that normally get their things right. They have the sources in the right places. And even if it's not like official in Lucasfilm, I'm definitely sure that it's something that's being talked about and is on the table, because we've also heard rumors of in the past about that Disney initially wanted to have a Solo sequel, which is obviously why it ended on a cliffhanger. And due to the failure of the last, well, not the failure of the Last Jedi at the box office, but the failure of the Last Jedi, through the love of the fandom, which then carried over to people saying, I'm not going to see Solo just because I didn't like the Last Jedi, which in my
Yeah,
opinion was a big mistake, because I think it's one of the best Star Wars movies
Solo's
out
way
there.
better than the
Yeah,
three movies
100%.
put together.
And I think that. I think that just because Solo hurt so much in the box office, they completely scrapped that Solo too. Who knows? They could have had a script written for, because we know Disney does this where they have things prepared. They had the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie script prepared. They had a script for the Boba Fett movie prepared because they thought they were going to continue with these anthology films. But once The Last Jedi was horrible, and once the box office for Solo was abysmal, they said, yeah, it's not going to be the best idea to move forward with these anthology films and releasing Star Wars movies once a year because people are just going to get tired of it. They scrapped the Boba Fett movie and they scrapped the Kenobi movie. Obviously, the Kenobi movie script was going to be just straight up made into the TV show and split up into episodes, but that script is now being completely reworked to have both Obi-Wan and Hayden Christensen have more of a major role in that series, which hopefully the script rewrites are for the better, even though we'll be getting it a year later. That's just one more year of anticipation and hype and something to look forward to, in the Star Wars world. But with that Kenobi series with Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor reprising their roles as the two main heroes of the sequels, the prequels. I can't believe I just said heroes
Yeah.
of the sequels.
Oh,
Of the prequels. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker. So I
I'm
mean,
just
this could
gonna
be the same thing with Solo too, where they could have a script and they're
see.
turning it into this Lando series. I mean, who really knows at this
I'm
point?
reading. I'm obviously while this is going on, I'm looking up like all the expanded universe stuff of Lando, and there's something called the Lando Calrissian Adventures, which is a
Yeah.
trilogy of science fiction novels, right? Plus a couple of other ones that were added onto the side. Why don't they just do the Adventures of Han and Lando, and have it treated like not like a buddy comedy kind of thing, but have it as a good way of having these two characters interact and grow their friendship, which then
Hmm.
links him with episode 5 when he turns it up. Plus, you can throw all the people in there that you want. You can have a bunch of fun. You can have one where Ewan McGregor pops up as an old fart that neither of them know, but he's been Ben instead
Yeah.
of throw everything in there. You can have it, and it's more fun because you've technically got two leads that can bounce off each other. And also, real quick, Donald Glover, if you hear any of this, get rid of the stupid goatee. Give him back his mustache, okay?
Yeah.
Give him back his mustache. I know he's young, but Lando with that mustache is just damn, he's sexy.
Yes, I mean, that's really all we have to touch on here for this Lando series. Like we, said a couple times, it's just completely rumors at this point. So now we're gonna move on to something that is confirmed and has implications in a few ways. So the Star Wars trilogy of movies that we know absolutely nothing about. We don't even know who's directing what movie in this trilogy. But we were supposed to get a brand new Star Wars trilogy set place in not a different timeline, but a different story arc of the Star Wars universe. Obviously, the Skywalker saga was supposedly wrapped up in The Rise of Skywalker until in 20 years they bring back Daisy Ridley, Oscar Isaac, and John Boyega to rehash that, as we all know they will, and they'll make an episodes 10, 11, and 12 just to get more money and run off of the nostalgia of people who grew up with the sequel trilogy, which God bless those people who grew up with the sequel trilogy. But so the trilogy that was set to come out in 2021, 2023, and 2025, which we knew nothing about, and it seems like Lucasfilm doesn't even know anything about it because with the I guess overall you could say not really a failure, but kind of the worse than expected reaction from the fans to the sequel trilogy. I definitely think that kind of scared Disney out of rushing out more Star Wars movies just to rush out more Star Wars movies. So they want to give more time for the script and more time to make a better movie than just rushing a movie out in 2021 for the sake of rushing a movie out. We don't know where these movies are going to take place in the timeline. We don't know who the main characters are, any actors, not even the directors. We know that Ryan Johnson is supposed to be writing his own Star Wars trilogy. We don't think that it's this one. We know Bob Iger is supposed to be heading. He's supposed to be heading the former Marvel head. He's supposed to be heading a Star Wars movie. We don't know if it's going to be one of the movies in this trilogy or if it's going to be its own standalone film. And we also know that Taika Waititi is also now confirmed to be directing a Star Wars movie. He also confirmed it himself in an interview when asked about it. He just said Star Wars, yes, meaning that he will be directing a Star Wars movie in the future. We don't know. I'm assuming that it's part of this trilogy, but we don't really know at this point. So this trilogy is offset by 2 years now. So now we will be getting it starting in 2023, 2025, and 2027. So that, that probably means that Disney is also looking at the options of just jamming up, throwing Disney Plus series down our throat, which I think is probably a good idea to test the market kind of for the next few years of how these Disney Plus series work out. And then they'll wage their future of thinking, is the future of Star Wars still in, big primetime movie releases, which I personally think it is, because that's how it always has been, or is the future in these kind of not really smaller TV shows, because it's more content based on, like, when you have 8 episodes of 30 minutes, which comes out to around 4 hours rather than just a 2 minute movie, but a 2 hour movie. But so, they'll have to wage what they think the future of Star Wars content is and what's the best way to roll that out to, to be successful with the fans and to, please the fan base that, they're supposed to be pleasing. So, that is just what offsetting this seems to me, is that they're definitely wanting to spend more time on these scripts and, make them as best as they can so they don't experience the same backlash that they got with the sequel trilogy, and they're trying to definitely make this one right from the beginning, rather than having a poor first movie and people complaining, kind of like they did right from The Force Awakens, and then, setting up bad taste for the rest of the trilogy right from the beginning. Like, this definitely also opens the door for, a slew of Disney Plus series leading up until that first 2023 movie release. We already know, that we're going to get the Cassian Andor series sometime next year. We have the Mandalorian season 2 coming this fall. Next year in the spring, we have the Bad Batch animated series. There's also rumors of a Rebels sequel series that's going to be animated. There were heavy rumors of that, and then the Bad Batch was confirmed. So we don't know if that is somehow people, sources and leakers from Lucasfilm, were thinking, oh, there's a new animated series. It's going to be a sequel to Rebels, but it was really just the Bad Batch. We have no idea what they're really going to do there on Disney Plus moving forward. And then, we have like I said, we have the Cassian Andor series in 2021. We could get a Mandalorian season 3. Apparently, there's also rumors about that is almost being confirmed, which kind of completely changes the dynamic and outlook of how season 2 will turn out if we get that confirmed before season 2, is released in October. Um, so, we'll see that if the Mandalorian season 3 comes out next year as well, alongside the Cassian Andor series. And then in 2022, we'll have the Kenobi series and whatever other Disney Plus series they'll throw at us. And who knows where the Lando series could fall into the mix. And then, in 2023, we'll just have a whole nother Star Wars trilogy to, to critique, just like we did with the sequel
Mm,
trilogy. So that'll certainly be fun. But yeah, so I mean, I just kind of went off on a little tangent discussing what I think the implications of this move are. So Captain, I don't know if what do you want? What do you have to say about, them pushing the trilogy back? What you think the implications of this could be, and where you think in the timeline these three movies could take place?
I think Disney needs to stop. I'm just like listening to what you were just. No, Disney just needs to stop. Okay, so through this entire conversation, every time we do these episodes, I'm always googling stuff on my iPad and all that kind of stuff. And there's people, putting out theories that Keanu Reeves is going to be in it, and all. And I was just thinking, if Disney goes ahead with a new trilogy, it will just be like that. It'll be like, who's the hottest new person on movies or whatever?
Yeah,
Let's just
actor. Like
grab
that's
them
what they did with
and
Adam
throw it in.
Driver.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, Disney, stop. The reason why episode one, two, and three were decent, but people hated them, was they were hated because it was George Lucas like CGI spunking all over the place. But people loved him because it was still a Star Wars story. Okay,
Yeah.
the reason people love one, two, and three is because sorry, four, five, and six is because at that time that they came out, the inspiration that George Lucas took from was still kind of prominent. So people looked at him and was like, man, that's a really good story that is just in the future instead of like being samurai movies or Flash Gordon or something like that. People still knew about this kind of stuff. So it was relatable. But now if Disney just comes out with like, episode 10, 11, and 12, and it's like Keanu Reeves will be ninja flipping around, stabbing people with lightsabers and shooting blasters, I'm like, right, so you
Keanu
just made
Reeves as
John Wick
Revan
4.
would be pretty cool. I do have to admit
Yeah,
that.
if he never took the mask off. But you can't just throw celebrities into these kind of things and make them good.
Yeah.
There is an essence to Star Wars
Yeah, that is
that
for
Disney
sure.
have not been able to get a hold
Yeah,
of.
and I also feel like the main thing that Star Wars always did so well was having like having like kind of more of brand new actors who aren't really famous. I mean, you look at, Harrison Ford, the only big thing that he did before Star Wars was American Graffiti when he worked on with George Lucas. And
Yeah.
he was 35 when he did the first Star Wars movie. And obviously you have Mark Hamill, who was in, his very early 20s. That was really the first big movie that he worked on. And the same thing with Carrie Fisher. I think she was 19 in the first movie. So I mean, that's really what Star Wars has always been famous for. I mean, Hayden Christensen was a child actor, which you could attribute to, kind of his career tailing off right after Star Wars, because a lot of those child actors don't end up turning out, to be that amazing. Natalie Portman was also a child actor, but she's obviously, a child actor turned, into a great career. But Star Wars was really her first big movie at age 16. And then obviously Ewan McGregor, that was really his breaking point as well. Obviously, Liam Neeson's an exception to the rule, but it's definitely an incredible starting point for a bunch of actors. And, some of them go on to really never do any big movies again. I mean, obviously Harrison Ford went on to do a slew of big movies, and
Oh yeah,
even
Harrison Ford became Jack Ryan
yeah,
for crying out loud.
even more, big franchises like, Blade Runner and of course Indiana Jones probably being the most famous outside of Star Wars. But then you have a guy like Mark Hamill who really never did acting after Star Wars.
No, he
Obviously he
did
made
voice
enough
acting
money.
and
Well,
stuff.
yeah, he did voice, yeah, not live action acting. He did voice acting,
No, yeah,
and
no, he
obviously
became
for
the
the
Joker,
Joker.
which was pretty
Yeah, for
cool.
the Joker. So I mean, he kind of went down the voice acting route. Carrie Fisher obviously had her struggles with depression and with drugs, but she, kind of continued in movies and acting, but still never one of those big movies like Star Wars. And I mean, who knows? We'll see with this current new cast of guys. Oscar Isaac, this was, really not his breaking point, but his first big movie. John Boyega and Daisy Ridley. I mean, this was for sure Star Wars, their first big movie. And Adam Driver obviously was, a really popular and, likable actor at the time when they were casting for this new trilogy. And then, even from right when he stepped on the stage in for right when he stepped on the screen for The Force Awakens, he just grew more and more popular. And now at this point he's getting I mean, he's people are considering to be one of the best actors in Hollywood right now. He's getting all these massive deals and these big appearances in a bunch of star movies. So I think that's definitely something that hopefully they'll do for this trilogy. I know like you were just talking about if a big actor like Keanu Reeves comes in, but Star Wars has always been a good stepping point, a good beginning point for actors, and that's something that's kind of always continued itself through through all these new
Oh
trilogies.
yeah, no, it's like recently the only Star Wars movie or the Star Wars thing outside of no, let's say the only Star Wars movie that I've felt had the Star Wars essence in it was the Solo movie. That
Yeah.
felt like a
And
Star Wars
I would
movie.
say The Mandalorian, but that's not a
Oh
movie.
yeah,
But I
yeah,
would
yeah.
say definitely The Mandalorian as a
But
TV
the
show.
Mandalorian is just on point for
Yeah,
Star Wars. It's
it's
perfect
definitely
Star
the
Wars.
most original trilogy Star Wars feel.
But movie wise, out of the ones that have come out recently, Solo is the only one that has come close
Yeah,
to
and
like
I think even though
having
I
the
don't really
essence.
love Rogue One as a movie, but I think Rogue One does kind of get there a little bit. But I
Oh,
also think that
Rogue
it's the
One was
fact that
beautiful.
yeah, I just think that it's the fact that none of the characters like really had any like we didn't have any attachment to the characters. I feel like so it
Yeah.
made it a lot harder. Obviously in Solo, we knew Han Solo, Chewie, and Lando had to survive, but we still had attachment to them throughout the movie. With Rogue One, we knew kind of they all had to die somehow, so there wasn't really any attachment or build up with those characters. But yeah, I definitely see what you're saying with Solo being the most original trilogy Star Wars esque
Yeah,
out
so
of those Disney movies.
if they got the director from that to do the TV show of
Yeah,
Lando, but
Ron
change it to
Howard
a
I think
canon,
ended up
yeah,
directing
and
that.
change it to a Han Solo TV show with
Yeah,
Lando as a either a side character or a supporting character,
yeah,
along with Chewie, it'd just be perfect. As long as they
yeah,
don't try and shoehorn in like our political stuff like they did with whatever that stupid droid was
yeah,
called or anything like that. If they just make it pure Star Wars, it'll be great. And for the movies, if they stop making the movies for a decade, then when they come back to it, it'll be good.
yeah,
Okay, you can't make a new trilogy that was complete and utter shite and then go, ha, it was so good.
yeah.
Let's
I
make
know.
10, 11, and 12. Well,
Yeah,
what are we gonna do 10, 11, 12? You can't do
I
previous stuff. You can't do new stuff because
yeah,
George Lucas ain't inventing stuff anymore. So you're just gonna invent your own kind of bull and just
yeah.
say, oh, it's all Star Wars now.
Yeah, I think with the new trilogy, they'll probably go down kind of a route of making a whole new. Like, I think they could go into this High Republic era, and they could just call it Star Wars: The High Republic Episodes 1, 2, and 3, and then have individual
That'd
names.
be better as a TV show.
Really? You think that?
Well, yeah, if you think about it, High Republic, so you could have people in the upper part of it, so like senators and all that kind of stuff. You could have people in the lower part of it being smugglers and all that kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
then people in the middle,
The
which would be the
Jedi
new
or
type
the
of
and yeah, and then
Jedi.
having the
It's
Jedi that too.
perfect. It's perfect. Good. It's like Law and Order. You
Yeah.
know, people are always chasing some person, and so, or like a spy, like Agents of Shield or anything like that.
Yeah.
You make it something like that. It's a good TV show, okay? Because you've got the upper crust being annoying little dweebs trying to put the Republic back together. You got the lower crust trying to, help the upper crust by smuggling in stuff to help make the New Republic good, and then you've got people in the middle, like the Jedi or the police force or whatever, keeping it all sane and together. That's a good
Yeah.
TV show right there. Boom,
Yeah.
done. Disney, why am I better at making TV shows than you?
All right, so I mean, yeah, so that's really all the Star Wars news we have to cover for this week. So I mean, yeah, I pretty much touched on all the points I wanted to hit on. I don't know, Captain, you got anything
Oh
else?
no, I'm fine.
Good. All right, so yeah, that does it for this episode, right around 30 minutes, and we'll see you guys next week with hopefully some more big Star Wars news.
Yeah, toodles.